start recording and say welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Glad you're here. Today we are going to talk about restaurants voting. You know, we've had a rather hectic year, and we've got to elect some business-friendly folks going into this next legislative session, or we're going to be bowled over. We are hearing that the Secretary of the Workforce Solutions is actually looking to put unemployment at the highest employer rate possible coming out of this, so that they can build that fund back up. And how we understand building the fund back up, but we don't believe it's our fault that that fund was taken down. And so we are hoping that the administration will choose to use some of their CARES Act money to to build that back up, rather than just putting the entire burden back on restaurants. So that's just one of the things that we're going to be facing in the upcoming legislative session, and you know, there are many more, and we can talk about them as we move through this. But for today, what we're really looking at is a campaign to get restaurant owners, managers, and our employees out to vote. And I know for some of you that makes you a little bit nervous, and for me it makes me a little bit nervous, because we weren't ever sure if our servers and bartenders and cooks were necessarily going to be with us when they voted. But I think more and more, as they see what's going on with our industry, I think we can trust them. I know that we really had to place our trust in the hands of our servers when we had the tip wage being threatened to be taken away, and the servers were absolutely brilliant. They were wonderful. Once people took the time to explain to them what this meant for your restaurant, they were absolutely brilliant. They went to the Capitol on many occasions. They talked to legislators very intelligently, and you know, that gave me hope for something that we're going to do now. And there's some rules around what you can do to get your employees involved and get them out to vote. For one thing, we're going to be sending this out, and we'll be sending this out in many different forms. So anybody who's signed up on our call to actions will get this possibly in a text. And I'll show you here what I'm talking about. So this is, again, a phone to action. And remember, we sent these texts out and asked you to get a hold of the governor, mayors, all sorts of other folks. And interestingly, we sent 10,000 emails to the governor this year alone. And with that, we have 10,000 emails of people who are on our side. So we're going to send them this, make sure they're registered to vote. And this, you can send this link on to your employees as well. And all this does is it asks them if they are registered, if they're not registered, or if they're not sure. They can put in their information here and hit register to vote, and it will tell them if they are registered or not. It will give them all of their voter information, and it will tell them who they will be voting for. So, you know, I mean, the legislative districts are kind of crazy with Senate and representatives, and all of them are up for election this year. And so anyway, this will help them find their elected officials. And this email will be coming out tomorrow. And then we're going to send them information on business-friendly candidates. There's a website that is nonpartisan, and I'm going to play you a video here in a minute. And then we're going to talk about how to talk to your employees about voting. So this is the website. It's called dareinm.org. And we actually have one of our very famous restaurateurs. She's not only in the video here that I will play for you, but she's on our webinar here. So I want you to hear what she has to say, and then we'll go on.
My name is Chris, and I've owned the Melting Pot here in Albuquerque for 18 years. I've invested over $2 million between liquor license and renovations, furniture, fixture, equipment over the last almost 20 years. You know, it's shocking to me that the governor says we are all in this together. My entire team at the Melting Pot has been furloughed for a second time. To my knowledge, not a single state employee has been furloughed or taken a pay cut. And my folks cannot survive on state unemployment alone. It's devastating to me that after 20 years of paying income tax, generating millions of dollars for gross receipts, employing hundreds of New Mexicans, that this governor and her administration have abandoned us small business owners, that they have taken away our right to earn a livelihood. When the governor announced her second closure of indoor dining, my assistant general manager, who's worked for me for 7 years and is the sole breadwinner for his family, said to me, "What am I going to do when the federal pandemic unemployment assistance ends?" And I had to say to him, "I don't know. I'm fighting for my survival as well."
So this website will show folks what candidates and how they scored business friendly or not. It's an A to an F on business friendliness. And you're welcome to go to the website. And there's more videos. And I just have to tell you, okay, of course, Chris's video, because it's the restaurant industry, breaks my heart. But there are some other ones in here. This woman here, Gloria, she has a gallery in Old Town, Albuquerque. And her video just breaks my heart. The things that she's, you know, talking about. All of these videos are things that we should be sharing with each other and sharing out there so that people get an idea of how they should be voting and who they should be voting for. And again, the candidates are all listed on this page. And again, this is a nonpartisan. And I will say that more of the Republicans are getting A's because they tend to know more about business and be a little bit more business friendly. But there's also some Democrats in here that get good grades and some Republicans that don't get good grades. So it's a very nonpartisan group that's putting these together. And I think it's really important that you share this with your employees. Now, Antonio Roybal-Mack is here with us, and there are things that you have to know about sharing information and voting information with your employees. And Antonia, you want to take us through some of those, and I can put up this other page or not. What would you prefer?
You can put it up, Carolyn, and I'll go through my own notes as well. So there's some very specific things that you should do as an employer to help employees vote. First off, I think that a lot of people think, well, we shouldn't do this, you know, let's just stay out of it. But I think it's so important that people get out and vote. And, you know, you have to really say that you want to emphasize participation over politics. So you're not really telling your employees who you want them to vote for, and make sure that your communications to your employees are nonpartisan. But I think employers should play a role. I mean, looking at leadership in the community, looking at the people that work for you, you are a leader in their life. And, you know, you telling them, take the time to go vote, this is important, may be the only time they actually hear that message. So it's very important that you take on that leadership role and tell them, get out and vote. So there's some things that businesses can do that are benign. It's not going to get you in trouble. The first is distributing information about how, where, and when to vote, along with tools with how to register to vote and how employees can request a ballot online. through the New Mexico Secretary of State website. No matter what county you live in, you can find that information, and you can put it out there for your employees to know. And I'm sure as part of Carol's email tomorrow, that information will be readily available. You can host a voter registration event. That's something that we've seen employers do. Now you can provide paid hours to vote. That's not necessary. I'll tell you in a few minutes what is required of employers in New Mexico on election day. But many employers we're seeing are offering 2 hours of paid leave for employees to go vote. Now you can't attach that paid leave to anything else. It's just they get to go vote. You can't tell them who to vote for, how to vote, or decide which employees based on their political affiliation get the 2 hours and which one do not. You can allow employees to use company equipment to print their absentee ballot applications, and sometimes even paying the postage. Little things like that might be helpful, or print a stack of absentee ballot applications so that way employees can send those out. You can send email reminders saying, go vote, make sure you register to vote, make sure you go vote. There's some employers that offer childcare, elder care, rides to the polls, Uber or Lyft certificates for employees to get to the polls. You can't offer anything else of value for them to go vote, but you can give them paid time off and certainly help them get to the polls. And some employers, close for a couple hours on election day so that way their employees can go vote. I know for restaurants that's pretty difficult to do, but what you might do since now is look at how you're going to stagger shifts that day to make sure that every single employee has an opportunity to get to the polls, especially for those sort of employers that have a mid shift that begins at 10 in the morning. Polls are open from 7 to 7, but you want to make sure that you give employees ample time to go do it. Things that you have to do required by New Mexico law is giving employees time to go vote. The law, I'm just going to read it because it's specific. It says, on election day, a voter may absent himself from employment in which he is engaged for 2 hours for the purpose of voting between the time of opening and the time of closing of the polls. The voter shall not be liable to any penalty for such absence. However, the employer may specify the hours during this period in which the voter may be absent. So what's important is that you, since now, tell your employees, hey, if you regular work a mid, the 2 hours you can go vote. Let's see. I just lost, Carol, can you hear me? Okay, so I lost sound this direction. But what's important is that you establish those schedules since now, because if an employee decides on the day of the election that they want to be gone the hours between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, we all know that would be some really difficult times for restaurants to have their employees out. So if you violate this particular provision of the law, it's a misdemeanor offense and there's a fine associated with that. So that's just some basics. I think the most important thing to do is know that you need to keep it nonpartisan. You can say these are business-friendly candidates. You can encourage employees to do their research. You can provide them places where they can do that research. You cannot ask employees to donate to any particular political campaign or any political agenda. You certainly cannot bonus them for going to vote. You can't say, we're going to give a $10 gift certificate to everybody who goes to vote. Nothing like that. But that's just the basics. I know that Carol, were you going to go through the do's and don'ts?
Yeah, and I'll just go through the ones that you didn't quite hit. You hit most of them. One of the things that I will promise to do for you is if you want to invite candidates to attend your business and talk to your employees and their families, candidates love to do this. Employees don't usually mind it. But it's a handshake opportunity where candidates can come in and talk to your employees. And you might give both candidates equal time if that's important to you. But it is something you can do, and I and Allison would be happy to help you set that up. Another thing is educate employees on what certain pieces of legislation mean for you and your business and to them as employees. You know, of course, we had our own $15 no tip credit legislation here in New Mexico, but it's possible that that will go national. And if it does go national, you know, now is the time to talk to folks about how that does affect your business and how it would affect your business going forward, you know. And again, don't be afraid to talk to employees. They understand what it means. If everybody's getting $15, that means that there's going to be fewer of them, and you're going to have to figure out how to automate something. And I may put our president on the spot because I know he had that conversation with his employees, and it went better than he expected. So tell employees how to get involved and urge their elected officials to move on issues. So we've been asking not just restaurant owners, but restaurant employees this whole year to get involved and tell the governor what it means to you. You know, the whole Let Us Serve campaign was something that we involved our employees in. And again, they came through for us in a big way. And I think we need to trust them to do what's right. So again, don't overly coerce or try to influence their opinions on a particular matter for which they will vote. Don't make them require come to a mandatory meeting, and that includes if you're having legislators in, let them walk the floor and talk to people and shake hands, but don't require that they be there. Don't threaten their job security, and don't require them to contribute to candidates. And don't provide incentives to vote regardless of how they would vote. So, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, this is before my time, but it used to be, and the reason we couldn't serve alcohol on election day was because bars and candidates would go in and give people drinks in order to vote their way. That doesn't happen anymore, but that used to happen, and that's why we couldn't sell liquor on election day. We now can. Let's not abuse that. So I kind of want to open it up. I know Chris is on here. Chris is the one in the video. We're trying to move people in this direction. Chris, do you want to say anything?
You know, Carol, what I'm wondering is, and we tuned in a little bit late. Are you guys going to be able to give us any sort of graphics that would say, carry some of these messages? You know, vote in an informed manner and pro-business. Is there any way you guys could do that for us, and we could post some of that?
Yes, and so keep your eye on our Facebook page because we'll have those, and you can share those. We have graphics that we sent out last week, and I'll see if I can find it real quick, but it's not just restaurants vote, but it's bartenders vote, it's servers vote, etc. And so we will use those graphics along with this voter portal. And so it'll go directly there, and people can sign up, they can figure out if they're registered, they can get registered.
But is it going to be more than just vote? Because I think the key here is an educated vote. Voting pro-business, pro-jobs, pro-prosperity. And to me, it's not enough to say vote. It's a few more lines talking about here's how you get educated on the issues.
Yeah, so we're working with our provider trying to figure that out. So what will happen is they will register to vote through this portal. We will see their email address, and then we will send them this Dare New Mexico election info.
Okay. Well, and that's the other thing that just for me to talk briefly about is I met with about 10 other small business owners, probably I think it was in May, when the governor didn't have a plan, didn't have any relief for the businesses that she damaged the most in New Mexico, which we all know is restaurants. And we looked for someone else to become involved with to help pursue our causes. And we came up with the Business Coalition. And to Carol's point, the Business Coalition is nonpartisan, pro-business, pro-job, pro-prosperity. And I would encourage everyone to check it out. That's the one place that I've given my time and my money this election season, is because they're really into, on this darenm.org website, educating voters on who votes pro-business, who votes pro-jobs, who gets an A and who gets an F. And I think it'd be really interesting for everyone to check it out. The other thing is of course, they're asking for some contributions, because what they want to do is to be able to put videos and their darenm.org initiative on radio and TV as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. The New Mexico, we work hand in hand with the New Mexico Business Coalition. They do great work, and again, it's nonpartisan, and that's really important.
And Carol, besides you guys, I feel like they're the only people out there that are echoing the Restaurant Association's voice. There's no one else lobbying for us besides Restaurant Association and Business Coalition.
I agree. And I know there are other organizations out there that that would like to claim that, but no. And I won't go on any further. So I see some other folks on, and Sam, do you want to say anything about talking to your employees when we were doing our tip wage campaign?
I don't know. Honestly, this form that Antonia was reviewing and you had really seems to cover it. I think giving people the information so they can go look at what who has what opinion, and then providing the space for them to get out and vote. I think that covers it. I think it's very highly important to know. I don't know what to say, Carol. Shockingly.
No, and here's the thing, is that I know that many people were worried about talking to their servers in particular when we were when the legislature was proposing a $15 minimum wage for everyone. And we knew that if a server got even a $12 minimum wage, we weren't going to be able to afford that. And so, I know many people who kind of struggled with it, but finally had the conversation with their employees and their servers, and their servers got it immediately. They knew that if their wages went up to $12 and the employer had to pay those wages without using their tips, that restaurants would have to be making a choice of going to counter service. They would have to be making a choice of, significantly reducing the number of servers on the floor, et cetera. And so, again, the servers got it. They understood it immediately. They didn't have to be coerced in any way. They just, employers were telling them this is the way it is in my business, and they got it. So I just want to say, there was a statistic, and Jean, if that's you, Jean Baca on the phone on here, if you would unmute yourself and help me with the statistic. But I believe that employees will believe employers above any other person on politics. And so just know that you have their trust. Use that trust wisely. Do not, don't break that trust in any way. But I do think it's important that we get those folks involved now. Jean, did you unmute?
Yeah, can you hear me, Carol?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know I worked with the Prosperity Project a couple of years ago, and they had some statistics on employers and how trusted they are by their employees. Do you remember that?
Carol, it's been a while since I looked at that, but just so I don't remember that at all. I mean, I remember what you said, but I don't remember any detail to that. But just from our perspective, from Bueno's perspective, we do talk a lot about candidates and about issues with our employees. and we have for years. And I got to say that it's very well received, especially if you present it in a way that just presents it as information and how it impacts the company and them as individuals. And we found that to be very effective. So we probably could do more than we have, but we do that to a pretty large extent. And we bring candidates to the plant as well for
Nice.
people to meet and see.
Nice. Well, we have a few of us on this call. We have 23 people on this call, and then we're on Facebook Live as well. And what I want to say to you all is that this is how it starts. This is where it starts. We've got 30 days, maybe a little less, to get this ball rolling, but we need to get folks out there voting right, and making sure that our industry is heard in this election. There's so much at stake right now, and we all know what's at stake. I really appreciate you being on this call. I appreciate just, trusting us. And just so you know, we will be sending out this restaurants voter portal to 10,000 people, maybe more tomorrow. And so if you get it on your phone, move it on, share it with other people, make sure that people are seeing it. Don't hesitate to share it with your employees. And we promise you we're going to do some great work. Now is the time to do it. I've been involved in a lot of elections, and it seems like we're coming right up to the wire, but now is the time that these kind of things matter. And I do believe that we can get a lot of folks voting, and voting the right way, in order to save our businesses in January. So if there's nothing else, Sam, do you have something?
First of all, thank you for that, Carol. Just as another thing, if you're talking to an employee who's really not an email, I've been amazed. The only social media I get onto is Instagram. Just love pictures. And I'm constantly getting messages saying, register to vote here. Here's how you can get a ballot for absentee ballot. So if somebody is not doing into email and stuff, if they are on Instagram and they just watch for it, they might see the tools that we're talking about right there in front of them on Instagram. Just again, as another way of getting it in front of people.
Absolutely. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? If not, I will give you back a half an hour, and thank you all for being here. Look out for our email tomorrow. It will be coming to you in your inbox, and help us get the message out and share it around. Really appreciate everything. And get on our Facebook and share as much as you possibly can. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.